Greetings and wholeness.
Wholeness,
Thank
wholeness.
you for aligning with this, great, great wisdom. Yeah, so as you can tell by the title, what we're going to elaborate on. And yes, it's simply less retreats,
More
more railroads.
railroads.
That's right.
Gotta lay them tracks down for us, you know?
hmm And speaking of laying the tracks, we should be giving more to people that are laying those tracks, that are laying those roads, paving those, I guess you can say like bridges,
Mm-hmm.
um, for that connection towards building, towards self sustainability and sovereignty, instead of short term things, like let's say one goes to vacation, and they feel great. Oh my gosh, this is what I should be doing my whole life. And then they go back to their oppression, their oppressive lifestyle. Yeah, so support those that are truly building and, wanting to connect with other people um, that value the same thing, you know? But we know that the reason why people are more, how do I say that? Like more intrigued, by these short term things is because, like long term, we're gonna see some demons come out, some shame, some grief that we've been holding on to, which holds us back from growing together, because don't forget this is ancestral. This is like our grief, our shame, our anger, our rage is ancestral, and we can't hold it just ourselves because ancestrally we weren't in these like nuclear like systems. We were in a circle of women, a circle of men, and right now it may seem very conceptual, but once we are in those predicaments, like that gets, um triggered, you know um and there is a part of us that, you know can maintain that. But we think based off of our ego, what we are used to, in this lifetime, that we can't maintain a long term like system,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's anxiety involved.
fear.
Yeah, fear, again, from that artificial programming that's embedded in us since childhood. So, we're having children as well, too. And they'll be grown in environments that are, communities that are also, more organically inclined towards, our benefit. Because a lot of times we may have some of the answers, but we still are being very nuclear mindseted when it comes to our approach with things.
Mhm.
Again, like back to the whole retreat thing, it's more of a nuclear mindset where we've seen people that have land, but it's like, hectares of land, but only one house. And the other house is an old house, that they not
Or old
use
houses that they
for
now use
for
for
like
retreats
commercial, purposes only.
when
You
their
know.
friends and
Mm-hmm.
community, don't have money,
Todas essas.
like they only have money for the bare necessities, like we've seen it all.
Yeah, and it'd be
you know
artificial where like, oh, maybe every full moon come together, women's circle, whatever. But that's it. That's where it ends. It
hmm
starts with a fiat entry, ends with a fiat exit. It's just,
hmm
it's a short term thing, and we're talking about long term. Short term is retreats. Long term is actual, building
community
community building.
building. hmm
Harriet Tubman, she didn't build a tree. Okay, guys, so we're gonna leave the slavery plantation, what it's called, and go for like 3 weeks. We'll get back thereafter,
hmm
And by the way, you're gonna pay too, with your life savings. give it to me, to feel some, fake artificial healing for like 2 weeks or so. After that, yeah, right now we're actually outside right now. We're in nature, guys. Come to our retreat. It's about $2,000 per person. If you got a kid, they gotta pay too. Okay, and yeah, after that, get out of here. I'll see you ever again.
Yes. So speaking of fiat, we do have a Enema PDF, for beginners or people who, need a refresher. The link is in our bio. Also, for mothers, caregivers, we do have some for children as well that may need a reset. Yeah, so we do have a.
Sorry, we're just like, get over there to our kids, while we're trying to make this video. You'll see so many cuts in it because our kids are talking to us and trying to get in the way or do something that's kind of dangerous, whatever it's called. So bear with us with the cuts. Now you know why. We have kids, support us. Our kids too, our family.
Yes, and speaking of children, again, we do have an enema guide for children who need a reset, some type of detox, a gentle detox, and just emotional regulation, some type of support, Also, check out my affiliate links, our affiliate links. Check out the enema bags that we use towards our devotion and yours. Also to, help support you through herbal aid. We also have an affiliate link. Yes, so check that out. Link in bio. Yes, so talking about short term, like we are more willing to put our money in short term retreats and short term,
and our energy too, and time, our go through heaven and hell, the stress and all that for a short term thing.
Yes, because we are not willing to see long term progress, and it does come with, trial and errors, but we came here for character development, and I find that a lot of people forget about that. Again, we are only willing to invest in short term investments.
Yeah, it's more comfortable, I feel like.
And it's kind of the same thing like we were talking about earlier about going on a vacation and then going back to toxicity, because we're so used to it, even though we know that we need better and our whole generation and more,
our whole people, our whole community needs this,
more than this, and we have to start from the ground up.
Our children as well too.
Yes, it's detrimental to start from the ground up. So investing in those people who are working from the ground up, is important. And then you may say like, oh, I have, and they haven't done anything, is because hey, we're literally everyone is literally working like from like every single dime,
We all have money.
Yeah.
We all have money, and of course this is a resource. We all make thousands of dollars every year, but we're not able to we're learning to put our creative minds together to find a way to channel that money to ourselves and not getting suffering away from ourselves via being a rent bracket, the nuclear rent bracket. We can pay rent together and now lessen the load. Childcare. We can be together and now lessen the load for childcare. We can lessen the load for having a clean house.
For healthcare as well. Like the fact that some of us may not be able to truly go through a healing crisis because we have to pay for rent. So we're like, oh man, I can't go down. Like I have to keep going up even though my body needs a break.
And puts you in a numb state, a numb machinistic, state.
Yeah, so we can see that people have an open heart, when they're on these vacation and retreats, and then once they go back, like their hearts get cold all over again.
Some of them too is like legit. It's 7 days. They cross like over like from like I don't know America to Africa, I don't know whatever, Asia, whatever. Jet left for 2 days. They have only like 5 days left in the retreat, and then what I mean. Like it's not even like a fully like it's just so short, it's not even worth it at all.
Mm-hmm.
I spent like 2 grand on that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely won't feel worth it, at least, because the come down is crazy, and you're not held or supported um through that like breakdown,
Yeah, and that
like
reintegration
yes.
process. They pay for you to integrate into the retreat programs,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no bundle package, I guess, for the reintegration once you get back into Babylon. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Let me see
and
if
of
I can
course you
make
got
this
paid
a
for
little
that
bit
too.
better
You got paid for that
right
because
there.
that's the nature of the whole thing is to just pay, this currency. That's the nature of this thing. It's not. It can be truly out of love. A lot of folks have love in their hearts and their souls, but it's always a forefront of fear from the finances because the level of faith we have in ourselves and spirituality, which a lot of us claim we're spiritual, but it's only to a certain capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Until the bills are not paid or etc. And that includes us as well too. But we need community together to synergize our energy together in order to have a higher faith level to attract more. Naturally, every time with the money, things happen for us. Naturally it
Mm-hmm.
happens. It's when the money is not the most primary factor, then that engine switches where we get into a faith God zone, and these things happen. We can't even expect it. It can be theorized. It cannot even be calculated.
You can't even expect it because it's the unexpected, like
Exactly.
it's the unknown, giving us everything that we need. And there are times where, people will be like, I don't even know how I got this, but I got it.
I don't know how I'm still here, but I'm still here.
Exactly. And that is literally just walking, breathing, through the unknown, and having faith in that unknown. Like, we were babies being cradled and held in that unknown. Of course, it may not have been healthy, but the Most High was definitely holding us
present.
through. Exactly. And that's usually once we start doubting ourselves, doubting anything that happens in our lives, or start to gain fear, it's that lack, that we feel of God's presence. Whatever you believe in, the Most High,
Yeshua,
the universe,
nature, Jah, Yah. It's all same thing, of course, But yeah, it's really that, and like a lot of us too as well. Like I think we kind of just, low key like give up and kind of just like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna just kind of just travel and just whatever. Like there's not really, um, there's no inclination in their souls really to actually yearn or go through like the trials and tribulations or heaven and hell to come together and build something for us because we're all going through the same thing. We're having kids as well too, going through the same thing as well too, where they go to the park and there are people that are not their kind. They don't eat like them, don't think like them, don't have the same customs as them as well too, and they're being subjected to that as well too, and we're kind of being forced to just kind of, what's the word? What's the word for it? Where you're being forced to kind of just like confine. Is that a word? Confine? Just submit to that kind of more their will than your own will, which is kind of more possibly more towards God's will per se. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's that like this is for the kids too. This is for the next generation. We got to create some for us. I'm surprised there's not enough spaces for us by now. I'm like, okay, we're like what 7 years in, kind of on this country's journey. You'd think by now there's like more plots of land being built for us, but a lot of times you'll see it and it's like just like a commercialization version of it. Where yeah, it's earth homes and it's garden, organic garden, but it's a commercial product. It's not an actual village,
Yes, and sometimes you just gotta get that land and put up that shack, until something better, gets created. But like just slapping on those wood,
something,
whatever,
we would be there by now. If that was there, we would be there by now.
Okay,
but we're not because no one's doing it to our degree,
and everyone knows like that first thing that you build, it's just the stepping stone, and the second thing you build like only gets better. and it only gets better, and it only gets better.
Just
and
like
people
Monopoly.
who are willing to like commit, you know, like I feel like we're more willing to commit to our demise, you know, because we're used to it, but we forget that we adapt, you know, and
we evolve, and you know, all
and
that good
God
stuff.
gave
Yeah.
us the tool to create, to co-create, you know, and fertility has nothing to do with just like the womb, but like creativity, like, you know, within our minds, the womb, you know, and then it gets manifested, you know. So like we have that tool to create a new life, a new world for us, a new community, you know, and a healthy one, of course, you know, and of course it's gonna look
Organic.
detoxing sometimes, because like we're in this, we're not led by elders. Again, we're starting this from the ground up.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what it is. You know,
So we are the new elders. So we have to, you know, like step into our role. You know,
be foundationalist.
Yes.
We got this is a foundation. We got to create a strong foundation. There's no foundation for us beforehand. A lot of us turn plant-based, turn vegan, turn holistic, conscious eaters, and it doesn't reflect our previous lineage to a degree, to a point now where we feel like almost disconnected from our previous, you know, our predecessors and whatnot. So now we got to create a new thing now, a new foundation. That's what it is, you know, and we gotta respect that. Be aware of that. Your kids are also involved too, and that means to like build a new culture itself, a new language, a new system of writing, a new, you know, customs or values or whatever it is, because you know it's happening naturally regardless. You know, can't act like you know it's not needed. You know, it makes perfect sense. Any other race of people, they do that before they start traveling around, going here and there, this and that. They already have established for their own customs, their own cultures, their own religion and whatnot, like a community that's thriving.
So a lot of you know, different cultures are able to be wanderlusters,
Pretty much,
you know,
yeah.
because they already have a foundation. You know, like no matter where they go, like there's little Italy, there's little Ethiopia, there's little this, there's little that, you know.
Even ones you don't even know, they don't got a name to it, but it's there. You know what I mean? And like they do it, they can do it out of boredom. We're doing it somewhat out of scarcity, you know, kind of just trying to escape, you know, the struggle.
And also like show like, you know, to travel is like to have wealth. You would need
and have freedom, I guess.
Yes.
But you know, we gotta lay down more tracks, more railroad tracks in that process, you know? Like they can do it out of boredom. They have community. So for them it's out of boredom. For us, it's not the same source of initiation. It's not the same, you know? And we should build it now, then travel after. Build now. We gotta build now. A lot of folks deep down in their, you know, their verbatim, etc., they don't want to build. I'm like, oh wait a minute, this is crazy. Like there's so of us, you know, having the same experience, exact same, from Mexico, Costa Rica to, you know, Zimbabwe or whatever. I don't know, whatever, you know, you guys are at, you know, and you know, like the reason why is because the key component is community. We need to build long-term infrastructures for ourselves. That is for ourselves. So like you don't pay to stay at your auntie's house. Okay, if you gotta pay to stay there, then they're not really for you. You know what I mean?
Yes, and it's exactly that. Like, you know, you go to these countries, get to explore, knowing that you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to get there, you know?
To get there and to pay to just lay your head down on a pillow.
Exactly. It's like, you know? it already costs you this much to get there. You know, now you're gonna have to like be in debt, you know, like in order to live and feel free. Like it's just wild. It's
only getting more expensive as well too. They're gonna make it easier for us in that sense.
Yeah.
But Spirit's working its way where it's gonna literally force us, because it's a mystical force to make us come together. That's why people in like the Caribbean islands are more together mindset wise, because every season, every hurricane season comes around, they're forced to be together. They're forced to. and the
Mm-hmm.
culture is forced in that way. And I feel like for a lot of people, like in like I don't know, the North America, the Canadian, Canada, the Canadas and like the Americas or UK, whatever, something like that, or whatever it's called, France, whatever, Germany, whatever it's called, Germany. Like there's not a force because there's so much spiritual pacification happening where you don't feel like, oh, I don't need to. I can just, I don't know, not do that. It's not a big deal. Like there's no rush, or it's not a thought for them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's needed. Again, it's needed. This is nature.
I
This
mean,
is how
maybe like the South, hurricanes and stuff like that, but
yeah. Again, hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
With hurricanes, it's good stuff. There's some more sense there. And nature's really
Mm-hmm.
knocking on your forehead. Hey, we need to do something about this.
Mm-hmm.
And you're forced to go to the more like real, like actually being an organic state or organically, where creatures where we gotta be together.
Yeah, and it's also wild, like how people are just waiting for the shoe to drop. Like in this
Oh yeah.
in this mindset. But like the shoe drops every single day. Just seeing how evil it is to literally be stripped away from your land and now pay for your food and everything like that, and like you just feel like, yo, what's the point of like buying food? Like I can't afford it, or like what's the point? What's the point of eating?
Be healthy. I'm tired of buying fruit. It's too expensive.
The same with like living. Like some people, like there's a lot of suicide happening. And it's due to the lack of healthy community. Like
Yeah.
it's so wild because like like let's say some different cultures, like they know that everyone has a different role. You're born on a certain day, that's your role.
Mm-hmm.
Like not everyone has the same role again. But like in Western culture, like it's just like everyone does this. Like put in a box, everyone does this,
factory,
and like that's it.
And no, there's a behind it. It is a contract and a license to it.
So like this one's a teacher, this one's a shaman, this one's a gardener, this one is the one that brings the messages from the ethers to the earth. Like they can do that, like bring those messages easily. Some people can't,
and it's nurtured since birthhood.
Exactly.
It's not like, okay, you're a pharmacist in in Babylon, but really deep down you're still a job because it pays more, not because that's for your soul's urges. No, it's because like, okay, it pays more, so I'll be this instead.
Yeah, this one's the bridge, this one is the musician, this one is the artist, whatever.
Yeah.
Like everyone has a role, and I feel like we're all pushed to be something that we're not, and that's why we're getting that greater calling for something greater, to create something greater, and that is our responsibility. We're gonna end it there. Okay, turn it off.